And just begin to slow your breathing. Now repeat after me as you look with your eyes up to the top of your forehead, but keep your eyelids closed. Put your eyes all the way up and your eyelids closed, and repeat after me. Hreem, 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 Hreem. Hreem, 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 Hreem. Keep those eyes up and those eyelids closed. One more time. Hreem, 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 Hreem. Good. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to begin to box breathe. You will breathe in through your nose to the count of 5. Hold your breath to the count of 5. Breathe out through your nose to the count of 5. And hold your breath again for the count of 5. And repeat that box pattern at your own pace, at your own comfort, and begin now. Think about something you're trying to manifest. Think about what problem it solves. Now snap your fingers and say, "It is not it. It is not it." Disconnect from your reasoning mind. Now repeat after me in your own head. Could I allow for just this moment things to be exactly as they are? Yes or no? Both answers are correct. Could I allow even more for just this moment things to be exactly as they are? Yes or no? Both answers are correct. Now relax into a place of peace. Go to your place of serenity and peace, and if you don't have one, make one up. And let go of all the tension, let go of all the worry, all of the thought. You don't have to do anything to be in the fullness of God's blessing. Just sit in a place of peaceful rest and surrender all of the cares of this world. As you go deeper and deeper, your body becomes more and more relaxed, and you let go. And you let go even more, and more, and more. Now imagine and sense that you've already become the person who has attained the favorable outcome you desire. And as you are getting into that place of beingness, just ask yourself mentally, what if all of my desires suddenly came true? What if, by some stroke of luck, or maybe the stars lined up, or perhaps at last things begin working incredibly for you now? What if all your desires suddenly became true? Imagine that you had no choice, that it was willed upon you. You are even forced to be in the accompaniment of all of your dreams and desires. As fate would have it, that's what the cards had anyway, in store for you. What would your financial situation look like? Remember, it's yours. Now you have to deal with it. Perhaps you've acquired this 5 years ago, 2 years ago, or even 2 months ago. But one thing is for certain. You now are the one who is managing the affairs of the person involved in this created lifestyle. What does your body look like as you get up and look in the mirror? When suddenly all of your dreams and desires took captive your imagination and became reality. How about your friends? Who are you surrounding yourself with now? Obviously, these are the people who belong in the picture when all of your dreams and desires crowd themselves into your life. Now, of course, we're playing make-believe, and we are using our childlike imagination. And this is because we don't have to be serious at all. In reality, being serious is what got us in trouble. So as you go deeper and become more and more relaxed, sinking even further into this imagination where all of your dreams and desires have filled your life, crowded your space, and have become the children that you've adopted, beckoning your attention. How does your physical health relate to this new imagination, where you are in the middle of all of your created desires, as if you are one with them, complete within yourself? How about your love life? Are you experiencing the continuity of good, reaching all of your affairs, even your love life? Now that you've surrendered to all that is, and omnipotence itself has taken over through the Son, the Christ, your human imagination, which is the living Christ itself. For you have found rest in Jesus, your imagination, and you have surrendered the details to the Christ, God's imagination, where you exist in God, in something called a trust. Now, as you may or may not be aware, this trust is similar to what humans, in their mortal sense of reality, create contracts amongst each other. And these contracts create performance agreements. So in the world of the flesh, we have trust in our contracts because there is something called law to protect it. Now, as above and so below, even though the world of form and materiality is fiction and is by nature corrupted and adulterated, it is the counterfeit display of what is above, or in the realm of spirit, imagination, life, eternal, real. Those are all interchangeable words to describe life in spirit. You in your imagination, beingness from God's image and likeness, imagination, spirit, oneness with God, versus the counterfeit claim of life, life in matter, the dream of separation. In the world of fiction, we have a dream of separation. So therefore, we enter into contract through our verbal and written agreements, and we use law to bind it and enforce it. In God's paradise, your true abode, where you never left heaven, you are in contract with God. It's an unbreachable, unbreakable, unfailing law, because God cannot be at war with its own self. As this fact is known, it is demonstrated by those who have been called through repentance by the Holy Spirit, turning back to the Father, receiving the inheritance, the full blessing. You see, a long time ago, in a far and distant place, a child was born into the world of matter. This child has an earthly father and an earthly mother. And this child grows in the knowledge of his or her forefathers, the children of men. As experience is met through human eyes, reasoning, and judgment, the middle place is strengthened, the reasoning human mind. This mind, the erring mind of mortal fiction, the sense that we are flesh and bone, with a birth date, a death date, on a time calendar, perhaps even trading time for dollars, carrying the burden of our own responsibilities to provide for ourselves in a competitive world where other opinions and minds are constantly at war with one another. This sense of self, and it is a sensation, creates a prism or a prison through the middle place, the human reasoning, erring mind, that allows for no escape. So when one is captive and beguiled by the world of form, that world appears out there. And how you know it is the child of Lucifer is because it serves up incompleteness. You see, Lucifer wanted to become God and created everything God did in a counterfeit way, but the fruit is always lack and incompleteness. Its essence or vapor is ignorance of the Father. And as children of Lucifer grow in their sense of being encapsulated in flesh and bone, bound and enslaved to the ideas of a material world that they had no part in creating, but suddenly found themselves birthed into by default, one day looking at themselves and everyone else wondering, how did we get here in such a corrupt, polluted, filthy, sad and cruel world? It is wise to remember that wholly and entirely separate from the dream of that beingness is the life divine. That life divine is wholly intact, complete, fills all human needs with spiritual ideas, and is ready, willing, and capable of serving its children with unfailing divine love that instantly corrects and adjusts all mortal conditions that are captivating and enslaving the children of God by means of fear, confusion, lack of trust, double-mindedness, and division. God offered free will, and the choices brought about consequence under the old law. You see, in the first half of the Bible, we are under the law of Moses. And that law is quite simple. Originally, it was one law. Put no other gods before me. Well, then another one was added to become more clear. Put no graven images. And it completes by saying, do not dishonor God and do not dishonor others. But originally, the sin that broke the continuity of God's correct adjustment over any circumstance in the immediate moment was when doubt in our heart caused us to fall asleep in ignorance, identifying ourselves in a world of good and evil. Evil being ignorance and all of the sins that come along with the flesh. These sins bind us to that world. And good being life in spirit, the eternal reality of God's perfect man existing in God's perfect harmony. So as God's law of perfect harmony is the real and all human suffering or ignorance of the Father is the sleeping state, God falls asleep and becomes man and then rises to know itself. So God is having relationship with itself within His man or manifest. When you were born in this world to a mother, she is Hagar. But the womb man, the woman, in spirit is not the womb man that walks the earth with flesh and bone. So were you born to a mortal, or are you from the Father? Only you can make that decision this day, whom you shall serve, God or the idols of men. If you choose this day to serve the living God, then you shall walk forth under God's authority, within God's law, and you shall turn wholeheartedly, which means without doubt, to this source for all of your human needs, and be made whole and complete again. You see, what is not of God is not. And since God never created a false idol of Himself, a fictional mortal that has a birth date and a death date, who is subject to all of the sins of a condition known as matter, flesh, materiality, the world where rust and decay and destruction are the norm. You rise out of that life and you lay down that life, because only if you lose your life and follow Christ shall you gain your life. Now, again, Christ is your living imagination. So I am one with everything that I desire, because I am in the one who contains all desires. So if I am complete within myself, I no longer require validation from outside of myself, where this alleged world of materiality seems to beckon my attention by means of media, television, conflicts, wars, governments, authority figures, idols, celebrities, and even family. As what you see with your lying eyes from out there, which is identified with flesh and bone and materiality, is merely a schoolmaster beckoning you to walk not by human sight, but with spiritual eyes. You begin to recognize or become cognizant of the fact that every time something amazing happened in your life that you had hoped and dreamed for, it was because you first felt it in your imagination. And you gave birth to it in the world of the real. And you rested in it and fell asleep and then dreamed it in the world of the unreal, the world of winter, the world of form. But how you got lost is because he or she who reaps in the winter shall reap nothing. But it is wise to sow in the winter and reap in the summer season. So what is the summer? The summer is the kingdom of heaven. It is the day of rest, the Sabbath day, which you are created to live in the mind and the image of God. God's imagination is your imagination. It is the Son of God. It is the living Christ. It is the day that knows no night. It is the perfect day of rest. So when you reap in the summer, which means you and your desire are one and the same, the desire or the clothing is more valuable than the one wearing it in the realm of summer, because it is the living Christ. In the world of winter, the clothing or the desired outcome is more valuable or less valuable than the one wearing it. And they tell you ideas. Well, you wouldn't give up your heart for a new Lamborghini because your heart has far more value. And they are speaking of things that shall also perish. So they are calling evil blessed. In the world of the summer, I and my Father are one, and I of myself can do nothing. Therefore, as I engender and claim possession of those things which I desire, the ideas that are in the spiritual authority of God, when I wear those clothing pieces, homes, friends, when I put on those garments are more valuable than the one putting them on. Because those garments are the living body of Christ. And the one putting them on is still the one who is dreaming. The dream where you can experience the sleep of the winter, where the world of the dead, fiction, materiality, calls and beckons for you to be tempted by its Delilah spell. You see these things that you desire, and they are separate from you in the world of winter. Therefore you covet them. You shall not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thy neighbor's wife is to covet the things that your human eyes see in the world of form. That is a foreign place. You will be in the state of the prodigal son squandering your wealth if you enter that desire. That's why in the Gospel of the Lots of Mary, the Archangel Michael speaks, "Do not pursue your own desire, because it is evil." This is human will, human action, and far wiser is it to render unto Caesar those things that belong to Caesar. I do not covet anything in the world of the natural or the material, because that world is the goddess of wealth. As the story says, inside of you, oneness. You are the deity. There are two goddesses, the goddess of wealth and the goddess of wisdom. If you chase after the goddess of wealth, she will forever elude you. If you chase after the goddess of wisdom, the goddess of wealth will become jealous and chase you for a lifetime. So when I fall asleep in the dream, the Adam dream of sin, I begin to see lack and incompleteness, because that is the world that is served up before me in the world of winter, the world out there. I am told to use all of my human ideas, all of my earthly education, all of my human reasoning, my hard work, sweat of the brow, grit of the teeth, determination, willpower, dog eat dog, conquer, kill, destroy. These are the motivations of the sons of men, whom God hath never created. The sins of the flesh drive this economy. It is the economy of Satan, or evil. It's counterfeit and fraud by its very nature. Because who can add or take anything away from the Most High, who is complete? God already poured out the full blessing for His children. God already gave the estate to the sons of the living God. Wouldn't it be wise to become a son of the living God again? Then take possession of your imagination. And rise out of the dream as often as necessary to make communion with God through God's thought, by being of one mind. Where man sees incompleteness, God sees fulfillment. So the question to ask oneself is, am I dreaming with a spirit of fear, perceiving lack and suffering and ignorance ruling over me, or am I one with my Father, filling all space with completeness, knowing God knows nothing of the problem, God never created the problem, therefore God never authorized it. Therefore there is no reason whatsoever to fear anything or anyone in the realm of the natural. The only thing supernatural about you is the only thing real about you. Your imagination and your word. Your assignment as you go forward into being filled with the Spirit, with all the good things you desire, so that they crowd your life and overtake you, is to be of one mind, If I imagine myself living in it and rest into the state where my spiritual senses have occupied possession of it, then it is done. The world of winter has nothing to offer me. It is a realm of sleep. So I will not let or allow yesterday's dream of sleep come into my now time of salvation, where the kingdom is at hand. I pray without ceasing, which means I live in and from and through the spirit of being complete, having my desire. And I sow in the winter, which means I step into that world and act as if I and my Father are one, and it is already given to me. And with the knowledge that God simply cannot fail, there is no power to oppose God. Therefore, I can hold the peace in my heart and maintain my performance agreement with God with a contract claim, a trust. I trust God. As I sow my action in that realm of sleep, the season of winter, the world that is pulled before my lying human eyes, knowing that what is created already in spirit shall come to pass, as it is done on earth, as it is done in heaven. The only thing I have to do is be patient for a little, so as to avoid human doubt, human reason, and human willpower, which all derive themselves from fear and are outside of the covenant of trust with God within God's mind. So I shall know the truth, and the truth shall set me free. I can add nothing to God or take anything away from God. So any idea that beckons me to pursue something in the natural is coveting. It is idolatry. It is putting other gods before. And you see, Jesus came to fulfill the law. And Jesus brought the law of God, which adjusted and corrected the error as Jesus rose to the right hand of the Father, ascended with the Father, within the Father. And you are entering the state, occupying the persona, the fictionalized characterization of a human story. You are occupying that story as the Christ. When you walk in the Spirit, living from your imagination, completing what is lacking, and bearing the fruit in your senses, your spiritual senses, shall bear the good fruit of peace, love, joy, and trust. And you shall know them by their fruits. For if I am bearing the fruits, I certainly have the roots. And if I have the roots to God, I am nourished by the kingdom itself. Like water over Niagara, my supply is limitless. The inheritance is mine. I am one with Jesus Nazarene Christ, the Messiah. And it is not my works, but the grace of God that brings all good things and makes them come to pass in the dream or the world of form. Which is nothing more than a simulation, a video game, a schoolmaster, rise out of the dream, occupy the state and the mansion within your Father's many mansions. You choose to live and walk from it, knowing that no power on earth can contain nor obstruct the Almighty One Himself. And you are the Almighty One Himself. You become that which you contemplate. For what the law of sin and death shall bring will bear no fruit outside of trickery and evil. That world belongs to Lucifer. When you chase after the goddess of wisdom, when you go into your imagination and rest in having your desire, knowing that it exists now as the real life, eternal spirit, it is yours from this moment forward, and no power on earth could obstruct it if you believe in your heart. Well, when you start believing in your heart, which means you start putting your trust in only your living imagination, putting your trust only in Jesus the Christ, you are of one mind with the Father. You are pursuing the goddess of wisdom. And that world out there, that goddess of wealth, will get jealous and pursue you for a lifetime. Putting things in their proper place. For if you cannot add anything to God and you cannot take anything away from God, then all that is left is to put things in their proper place. Starting with you. My proper place is in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, my life exists in my imagination, in spirit. I no longer covet the things of this world in the realm where all things return to dust. I do not pursue those things or listen to the ideas of vain men who speak nothing of wisdom, but utter mere lies, enmities against God, vain superstitions, false idols, threats of war and terror. These are the mechanisms of trickery by Lucifer to beguile you and to keep you rooted in the mind of sin, identifying yourself as one with that world out there, separate from others, separate from the good, and separate from God. You must give up and lay down that life. You must die to the old sense of self. That life must pass, where you will understand Romans 8:10, if Christ be in me, that body is dead because of sin, but spirit is life because of righteousness. Therefore, I choose this day my true life in spirit. My imagination is the real. I never had a human life. I was never born. I will never die. I never left heaven. I rise out of the dream. I claim my estate, and I sit at the right hand of the Father as one in the state of Christ. Now bring yourself back into more awareness as you are becoming more and more aware, maybe even coming back into the room, opening your eyes, and from this day forward walking in this world with spiritual eyes, knowing that you are in this world but you are not of it. You have risen above. Selah.